Hello there, Video Sec here. By the way, I know that picture in the thumbnail looks like shit. But anyway, I think it's partially just due to the lighting right now. If it's bothering you, I'm sorry. But anyway, so I'm just going to go on with the video here. And we're going to talk about the stigma again. I talked about it a little while ago. As you can see, this is the part two, video here. I'm going to bring out this kind of conversation I've been having with this one guy out recently. All right. So here we go. My parents are both very old-fashioned. I've tried talking with them on multiple occasions, but about me having a love doll, and they just won't hear of it. I was born with several illnesses, which greatly hinder my quality of life and generally just pull a lot of women off of me because I'm disabled. Since hearing of love dolls some 8 years ago, I've completely lost interest in real women. All I want is a love doll, and I've been able to save up enough for one, but my parents just want me to find a real woman and have even tried setting me up with other disabled people, which I found very unattractive. It annoys the hell out of me how stubborn they are about it, and nothing I can say changes their mind. So, and I, of course, replied to him. I said to him in a nutshell, when you're an adult, your parents can claim you, or can't claim you, if you heard me right. They can't claim you anymore, nor are they legally able to make a decision like that if you like that for you. You also shouldn't have to talk about it with your parents, and if anything, it sounds like them keeping you from getting one is only making you want one more. I only hope that you find what you're looking for, but I would advise moving out beforehand. Kind of like I did. Of course, that wasn't the reason why I moved out of my friend's house in the first place, but generally speaking, they were driving me crazy, to say the least. They are also very kind of old fashioned. They still are to this day. You know, some people they just can't get over the past, and sometimes they isolate themselves, in the old way of living. My parents, they still are around a lot of people that are very old fashioned, and like I said, they kind of isolate themselves, and they still live in a small town that we used to live in, which only has about 1,000-ish people in it. But a lot of the towns around there have sometimes only like maybe 10 people in them sometimes. Very very small towns, very isolated area here, which is about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes away from here when you drive. But anyway, so as far as stigma goes, I mean, yeah, and again, my parents also think I'm weird for having a love doll and all that. But there's of course at least a reason for it, and it's because of past stigma that is still kind of hindering, you know, the new way of the love dolls coming out and everything. And that stigma is because of things just like people like Jeffrey Dahmer, and just things like the things that people have said about people that are perverted and the stigma of being perverted in general. Like just because you seem kind of perverted, sometimes they might think that you're a creep, and having a love doll or a sex doll, however you look at it, kind of just, it's almost like a magnifying glass. It's almost like a it's just they just don't know how to react when it comes to the love doll part, I guess I would say. It just, to them it just screams pervert. It screams creep to them, in a sense. Kind of like, oh, how should I say it? Kind of like you're a predator, to say the least. They think of you as like a predator because they assume that because, you're perverted or whatever. And not to say that everybody that has a love doll is initially perverted. I mean, but there are a lot of guys that are perverted that get them, to say the least. And there are reasons why some people, are afraid of people that are perverted, to say the least. But, it also has a little more to do with, some people kind of do fear, dolls in general. Not only do they fear, perverted people and think of them as creeps, but they also fear dolls. And then, so it just makes it even more of an issue sometimes, you see. And the reason why people fear dolls in general in the first place is, especially if it's something like a Raggedy Ann doll or something that kind of looks like the type of doll that you can kind of tell it's a doll, but it also looks kind of human at the same time. It's because our natural senses, unless you're maybe used to it like me and some other people like yourselves, maybe if you've been around dolls enough, that our senses kick in, our natural senses kick in. And when we see a doll like that, we think, hey, something's wrong here. This isn't a person. This is a thing or monster or whatever it is in disguise. This is something disguising itself as a person. And, it's just your natural senses kicking in, thinking, hey, something's wrong here. Let's freak out. And that's the reason why they tend to put them in horror movies, is so that sense kicks in. And that's the reason why dolls are so creepy, and the reason why people might find, doll owners so creepy in the first place. So, I mean, to say the least, it's kind of like I said before, there are some people that are starting to kind of go out with their love dolls. And like my mother told me, her ex-boyfriend told her that at one point he saw some guy actually with a love doll on his bike. And he, of course, was just like, what the fuck is going on here? To say the least. And I was just like, wow. I mean, I've seen pictures of them like in the park and even at the restaurant, but like I've never seen them on a bike. I've seen them in cars, even for carpooling purposes, which is silly, but people have done it before. But in a nutshell, yeah, I mean, yeah, kind of the stigma is that, they kind of see it as kind of like a Jeffrey Dahmer kind of guy. Like, because part of having a love doll is control, right? And the reason why Jeffrey Dahmer did what he did is so that he can control people. And the only way that he can control people is by killing them. And this is in his words, but Jeffrey Dahmer was the kind of person that was more about controlling people, like actual people, not having a love doll. So, I mean, it's not really that related, besides maybe the control factor, kind of. But even that isn't really that similar, really, to say the least. But anyway, you guys can ask me any questions or what are your thoughts, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.